the little crowned one who heard the song of a dying planet under the pale light of a weak blue sun. The planet Ira. 9 slowly turned in silence. From space, it looked calm and harmless, covered in wide deserts and cracked seas. But deep inside its crust, something ancient was breaking apart. The planet was dying, and no one was listening. On the surface, near a line of old mining towers, there was a small human settlement made from metal sheets and broken cargo walls. The people living there were workers, families, and those who had nowhere else to go. Life was hard, and every day sounded the same. Machines roared. Drills screamed into the ground. The planet shook, and people learned to ignore it. Among them lived a small child named Anna. Arn was not strong or loud. He was thin, quiet, and often alone. He had dark hair, always messy from the wind, and eyes that seemed to look far beyond what was in front of him. People said he was strange, but not dangerous, just different. Arn wore a small crown on his head. The crown was not gold or shiny. It was made of dull metal, bent and cracked, with tiny lines carved into it like old writing. Arn had found it 2 years ago near the ruins, far from the settlement. No one knew what the ruins were. Old walls, half buried, older than any record. The crown had been lying in the dust, cold and forgotten. When Arn touched it, something inside him felt warm for the first time. The adults laughed when they saw it. Some told him to throw it away. Others ignored it. To them, it was just scrap, but never took it off. When he slept, when he worked small jobs, when he walked alone under the wide sky, the crown stayed on his head. On the day everything changed, the drills were louder than usual. The ground shook hard enough to knock tools off tables. Dust fell from the roofs. People cursed and held onto walls. This was normal on Ira. 9. The mining companies dug deeper every month, chasing rare minerals. The planet groaned, and humans kept digging. Arn was sitting on a broken crate near the edge of the settlement when he heard it. At first it sounded like wind. Then it became something else. It was not a voice. It had no words. It was a long, slow sound that rose and fell like breathing. Sad. Weak, tired. It felt like pain, wrapped in music. Arn pressed his hands over his ears, but the sound did not stop. The crown grew warm. The sound came from below, from the ground, from everywhere. Arn's heart started to race. His breath came fast. Images filled his mind without asking permission. He saw oceans that once covered the planet, now dry and cracked. He saw creatures swimming, then fading away. He saw fire deep inside the world, dimming like a dying light. The planet was crying. Arn fell off the crate and hit the ground. People nearby rushed toward him. "Hey, kid!" someone shouted. "What's wrong?" Arn tried to speak, but his mouth would not move. The song grew louder, sharper. It felt like something was pulling at his chest. He curled up on the ground, shaking. The drills stopped. That alone was strange. They never stopped unless ordered. Silence fell over the settlement. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then alarms began to ring from the mining towers. High above the planet, a patrol ship drifted into view. The ship was called Vigil Dawn. It was gray, long, and built for control, not comfort. Inside, officers moved quickly as warning lights flashed. Captain Rook stood on the bridge, his jaw tight. "Report," he said. An officer turned from a screen. "We detected an energy pulse from the surface. Unknown type. It disrupted mining operations and knocked out several sensors. Rook frowned. Natural? No, sir. Too focused. Too clean. Rook looked at the image of Ira. 9 on the main screen. Prepare a surface scan. I want eyes on that settlement. Back on the ground, Arn slowly opened his eyes. The song had not stopped, but it was quieter now. Weak, like someone whispering after screaming too long. Arn sat up. His hands were trembling. People stood around him, faces full of worry and fear. What happened? One woman asked. Arn looked at her, tears in his eyes. It hurts, he said softly. What hurts? He pointed at the ground. The planet. They stared at him. Some laughed nervously. Others looked away. Before anyone could say more, a shadow passed over the settlement. The patrol ship hovered above them, its engines humming low and heavy. Soldiers descended in armored suits. Their boots hit the ground with dull thuds. Weapons stayed lowered, but ready. Captain Rook stepped forward. I want the child, he said. Arn felt the crown grow warm again. As the soldiers moved closer, the song changed. It was no longer only pain. There was fear now, urgent, pressing. Arn stood up. I can hear it, he said, louder this time. Rook stopped. Hear what? The planet, Arn said. It is dying. The soldiers exchanged looks. Rook studied the child carefully. Take him aboard, Rook ordered. Carefully. As they led Arn toward the ship, the ground beneath them trembled once more. Not violently, but like a slow heartbeat. Far below the surface, the planet listened back. The patrol ship Vigil Dawn cut through the thin blue sky of Ira 9, leaving a silver trail that glimmered in the pale sunlight. Inside, the corridors smelled of metal and oil, and the hum of engines filled the silence. Arn walked between the soldiers, small and tense, the dull crown on his head growing warmer with each step. He did not speak, but the planet's song whispered in his mind, soft now, full of sorrow. Captain Rook followed, his eyes sharp, watching every movement. He was a man used to control, to order, to obeying rules, but nothing about this child fit any rule he knew. What do you hear, boy? He asked finally. Arn did not answer. The crown pulsed again, and a low vibration ran through the floor, as if the planet itself were warning them. Lena, the ship's medic, stepped forward. She was young, with quick hands and a gentle voice, the kind of person soldiers trusted when no one else could. He is not lying, Captain, she said softly. Listen to him. Something is happening down there. Rook did not answer immediately. He only studied the child, who pressed his small hands to the crown, trembling. The ship's laboratory was prepared for him. Machines lined the walls, blinking and whirring, ready to scan, to measure, to test. Technicians adjusted their devices carefully. Lena watched Arn as they moved him into the center of the room. The crown shone faintly under the lights, the carvings almost alive, and the child's eyes reflected every color of the strange metal. He did not resist. He did not speak. He only listened. For hours, they ran tests, energy pulses, neural scans, chemical readings, and memory probes. Nothing explained the warmth in the crown. Nothing explained the visions that Arn began to show without speaking. Lena noticed first. Images flashed in his eyes. Forests burning, oceans drying, cities swallowed by fire. Arn's lips moved slightly, and though he made no sound, his mind spoke directly to her. She felt the stories, the sadness, the urgency. The planet was asking for help, not with words, but with memory and pain. Rook frowned. "Are you saying this child hears the planet?" he asked. Lena nodded, her eyes wide. "Yes. And he feels it. The crown, it is amplifying something inside him. Something very old." Rook's hands clenched into fists. "Old or dangerous?" he asked. Lena hesitated. "We do not know yet, but it is alive in some way." The planet's song grew louder. Aaron collapsed onto the floor suddenly, crying out silently. Machines beeped and lights flickered. The crown's warmth was now almost unbearable, and for the first time, Rook felt fear. He had faced pirates, storms, and sabotage, but he had never felt a presence in a child that could make metal and air tremble. He watched Lena approach, kneeling beside Aaron, placing her hands gently on his shoulders.
"You must tell me what to do," she whispered, more to herself than to him.
Aaron's small hands clutched at her wrists, and the visions came again. Deep cracks in the ground, glowing veins of energy, dying forests, and hollow oceans. He opened his mouth, and a voice barely audible spoke in his mind, repeating one word: "Stop." Rook turned to the technicians. "Shut down the drills on the planet." Now, one young officer shook his head. "Captain, we have orders. We cannot stop the mining." "The Council. I do not care about the Council," Rook barked. "This child knows more than any report, any sensor. We stop, or we risk destroying the planet completely." Back in the lab, Aaron's eyes grew wide. The crown reacted to his fear and hope. The lines carved into the metal glowed faintly, pulsing with the rhythm of the planet's heartbeat. Lena touched it lightly, and for a moment she felt the song too. It was terrible, beautiful, and alive. The planet was calling for help, but it was also terrified. If its core collapsed, if the drills continued, everything on the surface and below would end. Arn stood unsteadily. He did not want to leave the planet, but he could not stay. The ship could carry him farther than any human had traveled, but it could not protect him from the pain he felt in his chest. He knew he must go back eventually. The planet's voice in his mind urged him to act, not wait. Rook, understanding for the first time that command alone could not solve this, gave the order: "Prepare a landing."
"We will send a team to investigate and protect the settlement. The child stays with me."
"We will figure this out together." Lena nodded, relief washing over her. She stayed close to Aaron as he slowly touched the crown. He whispered, almost inaudible, "I must listen. I must know. The descent to Ira. Die." 9 was tense. Outside the ship, dust and wind swirled. Soldiers braced themselves. The settlement looked smaller from above, fragile against the vast, cracking surface of the planet. Aaron pressed his hands to the crown. For a moment it shone bright enough to cast shadows across the cabin. The song of the planet was clearer now, louder, almost like a voice trying to break free from stone and metal. The soldiers did not hear it. Only Aaron could. As the ship touched down near the ruins where Aaron had first found the crown, he jumped lightly from the ramp, ignoring orders. Lena caught him, steadying him gently. Rook followed behind, weapons lowered but eyes alert. The settlement seemed unchanged, but a subtle vibration under their feet hinted at something moving below. Arn walked toward the center of the ruins, the crown glowing faintly. He reached out to touch the broken walls. Listening, the planet spoke, images flashing in his mind. Tunnels collapsing, veins of energy dying, forests withering. The crown pulsed faster, reacting to his emotions. An cried out silently, holding his head, as he heard more than anyone should. The song was sorrow, anger, fear, and hope, all at once. Rook finally spoke, his voice quiet. "Boy, what do you want us to do?" Arn turned his eyes to him, dark and deep, reflecting the crown's glow. "Stop," he said. The word was small, but in his mind it carried the weight of 1,000 lives. "Stop the drills. Stop the digging. Let the planet breathe." The soldiers looked at each other, unsure. Their orders had been clear. Mining must continue, but the captain's eyes were fixed on the child, and he saw truth in them. Rook made a decision. He would defy orders. For the first time in his life, he would act not for power or duty, but for life itself. He gave the command, "All operations halt immediately. Evacuate unnecessary personnel. Protect the planet." Outside, the ground trembled softly, like a sigh. The song in Aaron's mind softened, almost like the planet had heard the humans for the first time. Lena held him close, letting him rest. For the first time in years, the child smiled faintly. The crown's glow faded to a soft, steady light. But the danger was not over. From orbit, other ships watched, their sensors picking up the energy of the crown and the child. They did not understand what they saw, but they knew it was powerful. The Council would not forgive disobedience. Soldiers and scientists would come to claim the crown, to study it, to use it. And the planet's dying song warned that time was running out. Arn stood slowly, hands still on the crown, listening. He knew he must return to the ruins. He knew he must understand the planet's story before it was too late. Lena stayed beside him, calm and patient. Rook followed, silent but protective. The child's small feet moved over cracked stone and dust, and the crown pulsed like a heartbeat in the fading light. Deep below the surface, the planet stirred. Its energy reached out through veins of rock and mineral, touching Aaron's mind. It was a soft whisper now, urgent and fragile. Aaron closed his eyes, listening, feeling, understanding. He was no longer just a child. He was a bridge. The crown was not decoration. It was a key, and he held it, not knowing the full weight, but ready to bear it. As the sun set over Ira, 9, the settlement quieted. Machines powered down, and a hush fell over the desert. The planet waited. The little crowned one listened. And for the first time in millennia, Ira, 9, felt someone hear its song. The sun rose weakly over Ira, 9, casting long shadows across the cracked deserts and ruined settlements. The planet seemed quiet, almost peaceful. But Ira knew better. The song was still there, faint now, pulsing beneath the surface, calling to him. The crown on his head glimmered softly, and he could feel every tremor, every heartbeat of the planet, as if it were his own. He walked slowly, careful not to trip over broken stones or debris left by the mining operations. Each step sent a small vibration through the crown, a message the child understood without words. The planet was alive, but it was scared. It wanted time, and it wanted humans to stop before it was too late. Lena walked beside him, her hand occasionally brushing his back to steady him. She had never seen anything like this before. The machines on the Vigil Dawn could measure temperature, energy, even magnetic shifts, but nothing could measure what the crown was doing or what Aaron could hear. She felt it herself sometimes, a low hum in her chest, a strange tug at her thoughts when Aaron pressed his fingers to the lines etched into the metal. It was not just a sound. It was memory and warning and hope. all at once. Captain Rook trailed behind, keeping a careful watch on both the child and the ruined landscape. He had ordered the mining operation stopped, but he knew that was only a temporary measure. The corporations would not give up their profit easily, and the council would soon send more ships to investigate the incident. Rook understood now that this child was more than a problem to be managed. Arn was a key, a bridge between humans and a planet that no one else could hear. As they approached the center of the old ruins, the ground under their feet vibrated slightly, like a quiet heartbeat. Arn knelt and placed his hands on the cracked stone, closing his eyes. Lena watched in silence. She could feel the low pulse, too, and though it frightened her, it also filled her with a strange determination. The planet wanted something, and Aaron would tell them if he could. Suddenly the air shifted. A thin wind blew over the ruins, and the crown pulsed brighter. The song grew louder in Aaron's mind. This time it was not only pain. There was warning, urgency. The child's eyes widened. "It is angry," he whispered. "The drills—" "Someone is drilling again." Rook's jaw tightened. "Who would dare?" he asked. He glanced at Lena. "We stopped everything, didn't we?" Lena nodded, but the sensors on the ship, which still monitored the area remotely, began to flash. Tiny drones, sent up by the mining company, had returned. They were small, unmanned, but equipped to continue the work without humans. Aaron heard the song grow sharper, like a scream. He pressed harder on the crown, and for a moment, the lines glowed bright red. "They will kill it," he said quietly. "If they drill again, it will die." Lena stepped closer, putting a hand on his shoulder. "We can stop them," she said.
"We just need to move fast." Arn shook his head. "It is not just the machines."
"Humans will come too. They do not understand. They will destroy it before they even hear it." The ground trembled, stronger now, as if the planet itself agreed with him. Tiny cracks spread across the stones around them, and dust fell from broken walls. Rook signaled the soldiers to move into position, preparing to intercept any intruders. He looked at Aaron. "Then show me," he said. "Show me what to do. I will follow you." Aaron nodded, though his hands still shook. He began to walk toward the deeper ruins, the crown glowing faintly in the early morning light. Lena followed, keeping close, while Rook and the soldiers stayed a few steps behind, ready for anything. As they moved deeper into the ruins, the ground beneath them began to shift more violently. Rocks tumbled down slopes, and the hum of the planet grew louder, almost like a warning growl. Suddenly, a group of mining drones appeared, small machines with metal claws and drills. They moved quickly, ignoring the humans entirely, programmed only to continue extracting minerals. The crown pulsed, sending visions into Aaron's mind. He saw the destruction that would come if the machines were allowed to work. Fissures deep enough to swallow buildings, heat rising from underground veins that would ignite the dry surface, entire life forms erased in minutes. On reached out with his hands, and the machines froze. The lines on the crown burned brighter, and Lena felt a shockwave pass through the air. The drones hesitated, metal arms twitching, then stopped completely. Rook looked at the child in awe. "How?" he whispered. "It listens to me," Aaron said. "I am the voice it can hear. It listens when no one else can speak." Lena watched as the crown's glow expanded, pulsing in rhythm with the faint tremor of the planet beneath them. The child's small voice carried over the ruins. "Stop! Please, stop!" For a moment, nothing happened. The air was still, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, the machines powered down completely, as if responding to a command no one else understood. Arn sank to his knees, exhausted, and the crown's glow faded to a soft, steady light. Lena knelt beside him. "You did it," she said softly. "You made them stop." Arn shook his head, still overwhelmed. "It is not enough. The planet is still weak. It is scared. I can feel it." Rook stepped closer. "Then we protect it," he said firmly. "No one drills again."
We defend it, even if we have to fight the corporations ourselves. The wind picked up suddenly, carrying dust and a strange, sweet scent over the ruins.
Arn looked up at the sky, eyes wide. The song had changed again, softer now, almost hopeful. The planet was listening, and for the first time in a long time, it felt safe. But the danger had not passed. In orbit, above Ira, 9, another fleet of ships detected the energy pulses from the Crown. They did not understand what they saw, but their orders were clear: investigate and secure. If necessary, seize the child and the Crown for the Council. Rook knew this, and he knew the time they had was limited. Ar slowly stood, the crown warm but no longer burning. He looked at Lena and Rook. "We must go deeper," he said. "The planet has more to tell us. We must understand before it is too late." Lena nodded. She had seen the visions. She had felt the song, and she trusted the child completely. They moved carefully through the ruins, deeper into tunnels and broken corridors, the crown lighting the way. The walls were carved with patterns similar to the crown, faint lines that pulsed as if they were alive. Arn touched them, listening. The planet's song became a melody now, full of sorrow and memory, warning and hope, all at once. Rook followed silently, understanding that this was no ordinary mission. Soldiers could not protect them here. Machines could not measure the danger. Only humans with hearts open to the truth could act. And Aaron, the little crowned one, had opened a door that no one else could see. Suddenly, the ground trembled more violently. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, dust filling the tunnels. The song in Aaron's mind became urgent, almost frantic. "It is dying faster," he whispered. "The drills, the machines, the people, everything is hurting it. We must stop them before it is too late." Lena held his hand. "We will. Together." Rook nodded. "And anyone who comes will answer to us. The planet will survive, no matter what." An took a deep breath. The crown's lines glowed again, pulsing with the rhythm of the planet's heartbeat. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down, but he also felt hope. For the first time, he knew that humans could listen, could understand, and could protect. They continued deeper into the ruins, the crown lighting their way, the song guiding them. Outside, the sun rose higher, casting shadows over the desert. The settlement lay quiet, machines still silent, but far above, ships began to move. The council would not forgive this pause in mining. Orders would come. Soldiers would arrive. The danger was real. But Aaron did not stop. He pressed his small hands to the glowing crown, feeling the planet's energy flow into him. Lena walked beside him, silent and steady. Rook stayed behind, watching and protecting. And through it all, the planet sang a song of warning, of memory, of hope, and now, for the first time, of trust. The little crowned one led them further, deeper, into the heart of the ruins. The crown pulsed brighter with each step. The planet waited. And humans, at last, were listening. The ruins beneath Ira. 9 were colder than the surface, though the planet's song made the air feel alive. Arn moved carefully through narrow corridors of cracked stone, the crown glowing softly and pulsing like a heartbeat against his skull. Lena stayed close, holding his small hand in hers. Rook followed, his boots echoing against the walls, keeping a careful watch for anything that might try to harm them. The deeper they went, the stronger the crown pulsed, the more urgent the song became. It was no longer just a whisper. It was pleading, commanding, desperate. The child could feel it in every bone. The planet was afraid. It remembered the time when humans first came, how careless they had been, how much destruction their machines had caused. The crown was giving him more than sound now. It gave him vision. Arn saw veins of energy running beneath the surface, glowing faintly like a network of fragile lights. He saw pockets of air and water that had survived for thousands of years, now trembling under the strain of drilling. The planet was alive, but it was weak. "Look," Arn whispered, pointing to a glowing crack in the wall. Lines of energy snaked across it, thin and pulsing. "The heart is here." Lena knelt beside him, staring at the faint glow. "It is beautiful," she said softly, "but how can it survive all this damage?" Arn shook his head. "I do not know, but it will try. It is trying." He pressed his hands to the wall, feeling vibrations run through him. The crown shone brighter, sending waves of warmth down his arms. The song of the planet was louder than ever. Lena felt it too, a low humming that ran through her chest. It was frightening, but it was alive. Rook stepped closer. "If the planet is alive like this," he said, "why do the corporations keep drilling? Why do they not stop when it is clear the world itself is fighting back?" Arn looked at him, eyes wide. "Because they cannot hear. They do not care. They see rocks, not life. They see profit, not pain. They will destroy anything if it benefits them." The corridor shook suddenly, sending dust and small stones down from the ceiling. Lena caught Arn as he stumbled. The crown pulsed violently, lines glowing red, warning of danger. The walls themselves seemed to vibrate with tension. Arn pressed closer to the energy crack, listening, feeling the life beneath. The planet's heartbeat raced, faster than ever. It wanted them to act. "They are coming," Arn whispered. "Humans are coming with machines. They will not stop. They never stop."
Rook frowned. "Then we stop them."
"No one drills while we are here. No one touches this world." He reached for his communicator, calling for support from the Vigil Dawn. "All units, defend the settlement, protect the child and the planet. No one enters without clearance." Lena held Arn's hand tighter. "Do you think they will listen?" she asked. Arn shook his head. "Some will. Some never do. We must show them the danger, not just tell them." They moved deeper into the ruins, following the glowing veins of energy. The tunnels widened into a great chamber, half collapsed, filled with the faint scent of minerals and dust. In the center, the energy converged into a glowing pool of light, pulsing in rhythm with the crown. Honor knelt beside it, placing his hands carefully on the surface. The light rippled through him, visions flashing faster now, tunnels collapsing, creatures fleeing, forests drying, oceans turning to dust. The planet was showing its memory, and the child felt every loss. The crown pulsed brighter, warmth spreading through Aaron's body. He heard a voice in his mind, low and deep, filled with sorrow and warning. "Protect. Protect us." "Help!" The planet was speaking directly to him now, not through song, but through feeling. Lena knelt beside him, tears in her eyes, sensing the urgency.
They are close, Aaron whispered again.
I can feel their machines. They come to take, to dig, to destroy. Rook's eyes narrowed. Then we meet them before they reach the heart. Soldiers prepare to defend. We will not let them harm it. Outside, the sound of engines filled the air. The first ships of the corporation arrived, small drilling crafts with heavy claws and mechanical arms. They landed near the settlement, and drones scuttled toward the ruins, programmed to continue the work no human had stopped. The ground trembled under the weight of their arrival, and the crown pulsed violently in response. Aaron felt the panic and fear of the planet, and it almost knocked him to the floor.
Whoa!
Lena helped him stand. You can do this, she said softly. I am with you. Aaron nodded, though his small hands shook. Ha! He took a deep breath, pressing the crown to his forehead. Energy flowed into him, and he felt the planet's heart beat faster, stronger, and in return, the planet listened. The first drone approached the chamber. Arn raised his hands instinctively, and the crown's glow expanded, sending a pulse of energy that made the metal drone shudder. Sparks flew as it froze, powerless against the force it could not see. Lena gasped, and Rook stepped forward, amazed. It listens to you, he said. It obeys you. Arn shook his head. Not me. It is alive. It acts to survive. I only guide it. The song of the planet rose, more powerful now, vibrating through the chamber. The energy veins glowed brighter, reaching up into the broken ceiling, almost as if the planet was rising to defend itself. The other drones moved forward, but they too faltered as the pulse spread. Metal twisted, engines sputtered, and the machines ground to a halt. Ar pressed harder on the crown. No more, he shouted in his mind. Leave this place! Outside, the corporation's crews watched in shock as their machines failed one by one. Reports came in through scanners, energy spikes, systems shutting down, impossible readings. The commanders could not explain it. They did not understand that a planet was alive, that it could act to protect itself, and that a child with a crown could be its voice. The planet trembled once more, stronger now, pushing the stopped machines back, preventing further destruction. Arn fell to his knees, exhausted. Lena knelt beside him, letting him rest against her. The crown's glow faded to a soft pulse, as if the planet was calming again. Rook looked at the child in awe. You saved it, he said quietly. Harn shook his head. No, I only guided it. We saved it together. He looked up at the glowing veins in the walls. It remembers. It knows that someone listens. That is all it asks. Lena smiled faintly. Then we will listen, always. Rook nodded, understanding at last that the survival of Ira 9 depended not on orders, not on machines, but on humans willing to care. The wind shifted outside, carrying dust and the faint smell of minerals and ozone. The settlement lay quiet, machines disabled, drones frozen. The planet's song softened to a hum, steady and calm. Arn stood slowly, the crown glowing faintly, no longer warning, no longer frantic. The planet was safe for now. But the council would not forgive disobedience. Corporations would come again. Orders would be sent to seize the crown and the child. The danger was far from over. Arn knew that. Lena knew it too. Rook understood more than ever. And yet for the first time, the little crowned one smiled, feeling the planet breathe beneath him. They had bought it time. The heart of Ira Bah! 9 still beat, alive and hopeful, and humans were finally listening. Arn turned to Lena and Rook. "We must stay," he said. "We must protect it until it can protect itself." Lena nodded, squeezing his hand. "We will. We will stay with you." Rook looked at the glowing heart of the planet, and then at the child. "Then let's make sure nothing destroys it while we are here," he said firmly. The crown pulsed once more, bright and steady, as if agreeing. The little crowned one had led them to the heart of a living world, and together they would defend it. Outside, the sun climbed higher, casting long rays over the desert and ruins. The settlement lay quiet. The machines stopped, the song of the planet rising softly in the wind. For now, 9 was safe, but far above, other ships began to move, and the council would not wait. Inside the chamber, Aaron pressed his hands to the glowing energy once more. He listened, felt, and understood. The planet spoke, and finally, someone was listening. 9 was tense, filled with the low hum of engines and the faint vibration of the planet itself. The vigil dawn hovered quietly near the ruins, keeping watch over the settlement and the child who had become the voice of the planet. Arn walked carefully through the desert, the crown on his head glowing faintly, lines pulsing like a heartbeat. Lena followed closely, holding his hand and watching him with worry and admiration. Captain Rook stayed a few steps behind, his eyes scanning the horizon, alert for any sign of danger. The planet's song was stronger now, vibrating beneath the ground and echoing in Aaron's mind. It was full of hope, but also warning. The corporations would not forgive their losses, and the council would send ships. They would come with orders to seize the child and the crown, not understanding what they protected. Arn knelt on a cracked stone near the center of the ruins. He pressed his hands to the ground, feeling the faint tremors and the flow of energy beneath. The crown pulsed stronger, warmth spreading down his arms. The planet's song came in images now, clear and vivid. Tunnels collapsing, rivers drying, creatures fleeing. It was showing its memories, its pain, its fear, and its hope. Lena knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Can it survive?" she whispered. Arn shook his head. "It is fragile, but it can. It wants to survive, but we must help it. Humans are coming again." "They will not stop." Rook's eyes narrowed. "Then we stop them. No one drills while we are here. We defend the planet, even if we must fight the corporations ourselves." Lena nodded. She had seen the visions. She had felt the song. She trusted Arn completely. The child stood slowly, the crown glowing steadily. "We must show them," he said softly. "Not just tell them. They must see the danger themselves." In orbit above, the first ships of the Council fleet approached. Sensors detected the crown's energy, strange and powerful. Officers aboard the ships did not understand what they saw. The readings were impossible. A child controlling the flow of energy from a planet was unheard of, unimaginable. Orders came to investigate, to seize the child and crown if necessary. Back on the surface, the Vigil Dawn prepared for interception. Soldiers readied weapons, drones were activated for surveillance, and communication lines hummed with tension. Arn led Lena and Rook to the chamber deep in the ruins, where the planet's energy converged in a glowing heart. The crown pulsed brighter as they approached, and Aaron placed his small hands on the energy. Warmth flowed through him, and the visions became sharper. Fires, collapsing tunnels, dying creatures, oceans drying. The planet spoke directly into his mind now, words clear and urgent. Protect, protect me. Humans come again. They must not harm me. The first council ship landed nearby, and armored soldiers began to move toward the ruins. Arn felt the panic of the planet as a low vibration through his body. He pressed the crown harder against his forehead. The glowing lines spread across the metal, pulsing like living veins. Lena grasped his hand, feeling the vibration, hearing the faint song, sensing the urgency. Rook stepped forward, raising his voice. "Hold your fire," he shouted. "The child is the key. Do not touch the planet." The soldiers hesitated. Orders were coming through their communicators, conflicting with what they saw. Machines began to advance, but they faltered when the crown pulsed again. Sparks flew from metal limbs, engines sputtered, and the drones froze. Arn's hands glowed with energy, guiding the flow from the planet. The planet's song rose in volume and intensity. It reached into the minds of the intruders, images flashing unbidden, collapsing tunnels, dying ecosystems, rivers of fire. Soldiers staggered, some falling to their knees, overwhelmed by what they could not explain. They had been trained to obey orders without question, but now their senses were flooded with truth. The planet was alive. They could not ignore it. Arn whispered softly to Lena. "They do not understand yet, they must see." The crown pulsed brighter, sending waves of energy outward. Rocks shifted, dust swirled, and the ground trembled under the approach of machines. Sparks flew from metal, wires twisted and shorted, and the drones collapsed, motionless. The planet acted, defending itself without harming the humans. It trusted Arn to guide it, and he did. Outside, the council offices called for retreat. Sensors were failing, communication lines jammed, machines destroyed. They did not understand what was happening, but their orders were clear. They could not proceed. The fleet pulled back into orbit, giving the child and the planet time. Rook allowed himself a moment of relief. Lena pressed her hand to Arn's back. "You saved it again," she whispered. Arn shook his head, exhausted. "No. The planet saved itself. I only guided it. It knows that someone listens now. That is all it asks." Arn turned to Rook. "We must stay," he said. "We must protect it until it can protect itself." Rook nodded, understanding fully now that the survival of Ira 9 depended not on weapons, orders, or machines, but on humans willing to care. The crown glowed softly, in rhythm with the planet's heartbeat. Arn felt the responsibility, the weight of protecting something so fragile and alive. Yet, he also felt hope. The planet had been heard. The humans had listened. For the first time in centuries, Ira 9 had a chance. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the desert and ruins. The settlement lay quiet. Machines stopped. Drones disabled. The song of the planet rose softly, full of calm and trust. Arn led Lena and Rook deeper into the ruins, to the heart where energy veins converged. The crown pulsed brighter with each step. The planet spoke in whispers, showing visions, telling memories, warning, and hoping. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying dust across the desert. The planet's song mixed with it, rising over the rocks and ruins. The intruding fleet had retreated, but new dangers would come. The council would send more ships. Corporations would return to claim the crown and the child. The little crowned one knew it, and so did Lena and Rook. They must stay vigilant, Arn placed his hands on the glowing heart again. He closed his eyes and listened. The planet's heartbeat was steady, slow, and strong now. It trusted them. He could feel every pulse, every vibration, every memory. The planet had survived another day, and humans had chosen to listen. Lena smiled faintly. "It is alive," she said softly, "and it trusts you." Arn nodded, exhausted but determined. "We will not let it die," he said. Rook looked at the glowing energy, at the child, and finally understood. The little crowned one was not a king, not a ruler, not a weapon. He was a bridge. The crown was not just metal. It was a key to understanding, to listening, to protecting. The planet's song rose softly, steady now, full of trust and hope. The child pressed his hands to the crown, feeling the warmth, feeling the pulse, feeling the life beneath. He was small, but he carried the weight of Ira. 9 in his mind and heart. Lena held his hand. Rook stood watch. And together they would defend a living world, a world that no human had ever truly understood before. The little crowned one listened, the planet waited, and humanity began to learn what it meant to care. The sun had almost disappeared behind the jagged mountains of Ira. 9, painting the cracked desert in shades of orange and gray. The settlement lay quiet, empty of machines and nettled drones, the once roaring drills silent at last. Arn walked slowly across the desert floor, the crown on his head glowing softly, pulsing with the planet's steady heartbeat. He no longer felt the sharp panic of the past days, but a calm urgency. The planet had survived, but only just. It remembered the care it had received, and it knew that humans could be more than destroyers if they chose to listen. Lena walked beside him, holding his small hand. She had never imagined seeing a living world speak through a child, but now she could feel it in her chest. She could hear the faint hum, sense the vibrations in the air, and feel the warmth of the crown as it pulsed with the rhythm of Ira Don's heart. 9's heart. Captain Rook followed, his face grim but thoughtful. He had learned that military power and orders could not save a planet. Only understanding and care could do that. The crown, once dull and broken, now glowed softly, the lines etched into it, faintly moving, as if alive. An pressed his hands to it and felt the planet's memories flow into him one last time. Ancient forests full of life, rivers that ran deep and strong, creatures that had never been named, cities built by civilizations long forgotten. The song of the planet was no longer filled with pain, but with a quiet hope. It was healing, slowly, because someone had listened. Arn stopped near a hill overlooking the settlement. The wind shifted, carrying dust and faint scents of minerals from deep underground. He closed his eyes and felt every tremor, every pulse beneath his feet. Ira. 9 was alive, not just in memory or song, but in energy, in movement, in breath. Humans had stopped the drilling, saved the veins of water and energy, and for the first time, the planet could rest without fear. "They will come again," Rook said quietly. "Corporations, the council, they will not leave it alone."
An opened his eyes.
"They do not understand yet, but now they will have to. They will see what happens when someone listens, when someone cares. That is enough for now." Lena squeezed his hand. "Do you think it will ever forgive them?" she asked. Arn shook his head slowly. "Forgive? I do not know, but it will remember who helped. That is more important." He looked out at the desert, at the ruins, at the settlement that had survived. For the first time, he felt small and yet powerful at the same time. He had been given a responsibility too big for most humans, but he had carried it with care. The crown pulsed softly, and Arin removed it slowly. It was no longer needed to hear the planet. The song had quieted into a soft hum, a rhythm steady and calm. He held the crown in his hands and felt the warmth fading, the energy slowing. It was a final gift from the planet, a thank you and a promise. The crown would not shine again, but its work was done. Arn smiled faintly, a mixture of relief and sadness. Lena knelt beside him.
"You are safe now," she said. Arn nodded.
Yes, the planet is safe.
And it will remember us. That is all that matters.
Rook stepped closer.
And humanity? What now? Will they change? Arin looked at him. Some will. Some will never understand. But now there is hope. Ira. 9 showed them what listening means. That is enough to start. The wind shifted again, brushing across the ruins, carrying a faint, sweet scent that seemed alive. Arn walked down the hill toward the settlement, Lena at his side, Rook behind. Dust swirled around them, but the sun's last light made it sparkle like tiny stars. The machines were gone. The settlement would rebuild. Humans would learn, and the planet would survive. Arn knelt near the energy pool deep in the ruins one last time. He pressed his hands to the warm stones, listening. The crown's lines no longer glowed, but he could feel the heartbeat of Ira, 9, steady, calm, and strong. He whispered softly, a promise to the planet. I will listen. I will remember. I will protect what you need. The planet pulsed gently, like a sigh of relief. In orbit above, the remaining council ships observed from a distance, unable to explain the energy or the power of the child with the crown. Some officers wanted to send troops, to claim the child, to seize the crown, but others hesitated, feeling something they could not name, sensing the life they could not see. Ira, 9, had taught them a lesson they would not forget. Back on the surface, the settlement began to stir as workers returned cautiously. They saw the ruined drills, the broken machines, and the calm child walking with Lena and Rook. Some whispered among themselves, others stared in awe. Word would spread across the colonies, a living planet, a child who could hear it, and humans who had chosen to protect rather than destroy. Arn walked through the settlement, greeting those who looked at him in wonder. He was small, quiet, and still just a child, but he carried a presence that made people pause. The crown was silent in his hands, a reminder of the bond he had shared with Ira. 9. The planet had trusted him, and he had honored that trust. That was the strength of humanity, he realized, the courage to care, even when it seemed impossible. As the sun disappeared completely behind the horizon, the desert was bathed in a calm blue light. The ruins of old mining machines lay still, the settlement alive with cautious life, and deep beneath, the veins of energy glowed softly, alive and safe. Arn sat on a small rise overlooking everything, crown in hand, feeling the pulse of the planet beneath him. Lena sat beside him, silent. Rook stood behind, watching, proud and thoughtful. Arn closed his eyes, feeling Ira. 9's heartbeat slowed to a steady rhythm. It was alive, and it remembered. It remembered the humans who had listened, who had protected, who had chosen to care. Humanity had learned, not through orders or machines, but through compassion, patience, and courage. And for the first time, the little crowned one smiled fully, knowing that the planet would endure and that the song of life would continue, carried forward by those who chose to hear. The desert was silent, calm, and alive. Ira, 9, was safe. Humanity had been given a chance to change, and the little crowned one who had listened to the dying planet now walked among people who would never forget what it meant to care. The planet's soft pulse continued beneath him, steady, alive, and full of hope. And as stars appeared in the night sky above, the crown lay quietly in Aaron's hands, a symbol of what could be achieved when someone simply chose to listen. The little crowned one had done more than hear a song. He had changed a future, not just for Ira, 9, but for all who would come after. The planet slept peacefully at last, and humans had learned that their greatest strength was not in conquest, but in understanding. Arn stood slowly, holding the crown close. Lena took his hand, and Rook followed. Together they walked into the settlement as night fell, carrying with them the memory of a living world, the promise of protection, and the knowledge that humanity could be more than it had ever been. Ira, 9's song would never be forgotten, and neither would the little crowned one who had answered it.